VOD review for Incede Blue on February 14th, 2018. Alright, let me get myself set up, y'all. Make sure this is working. Nope, it is not working. I need the pencil tool. Nope. There we go. Control A, delete. Awesome. Let's do this. Alright, so the fight's already started, and blue team has given Incede extra ground than typical, so it's an advantage. So that Junkrat got ult insanely fast. And, shoot, can't see what I'm doing. Alright, here we go. So it takes up Ov, and I think in a little bit, I guess see some. So at this point, we've lost Ov, Havoc, and Diva is out of mech. Alright, at this point, you need to call it disengage to reform yourself, because in a couple frames here, you notice another problem. It doesn't affect you in this at this point. It doesn't affect you at this point, but keep in mind, only DPS is caught out. All it takes is for the rest of their DPS and tank line to notice he's back here and he gets caught out and killed. Another advantage that you have because of your team comp is between having a Widowmaker and a Genji, you have both long range and short range DPS, which is kind of a physically aimed distortion for the other team to aim against. So that's going to be a slight advantage for you. It's not major, but it does kind of help. But calling disengages for this team fight here is probably one of the most major issues that could have completely killed your push. Next. My camera skills stink. You guys actually did disengage here. But you probably could have gotten another push in if you disengaged earlier from the first team fight. Okay. So, we're going to bump it back a couple frames here. Alright, so we have Havoc here. No, I need the brush. Alright, so we have Havoc here. Okay. He's looking to push in. Meanwhile, half his team is right here. Alright. Which, so in a couple frames, he wants, well, anyway, he wants to push in. So he comes down right here. And by the time his team gets to about here, he is already in. That's a major disconnect. That's a major disconnect between what the rest of his team can do to help him with his push and his location in the team fight. There's a reason why in this team fight he went, whoops. In this team fight, he went down. That probably should have gotten called out so that Havoc can jump on it. So Havoc's push and how he put in left his DPS out of the team fight, and now there's going to be a delay in damage getting into the team fight because Artsy Fartsy has to figure out a way in order to get in and position himself well. He's already at Artsy Fartsy's already in a disadvantage from how he's pushing in. He's pushing in uphill, which affects the targets that he can actually effectively aim at. And because the DPS is getting a delay in, OK is probably going to lose her mech here. But she does have ult. But unfortunately, if there's two options here, OK can use her ultimate to keep her mech in the team fight, or she just lets it go and tries to fight through it, but that would probably result in her death based on her positioning at this moment. So, but at the same time, the team is over here. Blue team is over here, and she's over here. So, it can go. It can go either way. But generally, when you split the team like this, in this case, and Havoc did do use ult here. However, Winston's ult is used for two purposes in typicality. One, to give him an extra health bar to survive a team fight, or two, to get crowd control characters off the payload to get the last couple inches on to the next checkpoint. And in this case, I don't. Let's see. Let me see where his health was at a moment ago. No, he popped in and used ult, regardless of his health. So in both cases, this was just a bad ult for Havoc. All right. Now, Blue's on defense. Meanwhile, I'm checking messages on my computer because I'm a retard. So we got some good initial positioning here. This is where typically most teams hold their first push. That was a good organized rotation of the formation. And OK did a really good job of peeling for the healers, but it's a little bit too slow. Going forward, if you recognize that a chaser is going to be having the habit of coming into the back line, right? You're going to want to expect it in future team fights. And coming around and going straight into the choke not wasn't necessarily bad because characters like Havoc and Junkrat are kind of forced to do that, but Zarya probably needs to peg the choke with the barrier grenades and hold back a little bit, only because uh, when Tracer inevitably comes through and goes for the back line, you need to be ready with bubbles for your healers. Uh, and yeah, Mind Bales is up, but both tanks are down, so. The soldier probably should have helped with that too. So the Pharah on their team has double heals on her, which means when Mind Bales gets in, he has to put a Discord on it and assist Soldier with taking her out. So here's the first problem. Okay, this one's a major issue. Okay, so their team has to push choke. All right. Havoc is holding too far ahead, causing Artsy Fartsy to drop down. Okay. Av drops down because his positioning to keep the tanks up is correct. Artsy Fartsy dropping down is a result of Havoc being in wrong position. And I believe, hold on, let me make sure here. Yep. And then Mind Bales, in the same instance, drops down as well. When realistically, Soldier and Mind Bales need to stay up here. One, Mind Bales can get more long distance heals off up here, and Artsy Fartsy can put more damage into headshots from on high ground than you can on the ground. But with Artsy Fartsy trying to maintain DPS output, he's dropped to the ground because of positioning of the tanks. The only people that should be on the ground right there at that moment is the tanks and Junkrat, so that Junkrat can do damage style crowd control. Let me go back on that. Okay, that didn't happen to you on purpose. All right. However, when you recognize that you're gonna get caught out like that, try and figure out a way to disengage. Um, one, so you're not giving them extra ult charge. But that's just an unfortunate situation. Some of these other deaths I'm looking into real quick. Havoc literally dropped shield and opened himself to an Earth Shatter. Um, Hammers really need to kind of come out when you have the support behind you, so that things like that don't happen. Need to pay attention to their ult economy, because the best character to recognize when the other Reinhardt is going to have ultimate is the other Reinhardt. So McCree's death happened because he was facing without tank support, mostly from Ryan. It's that that one's on him. Unfortunate death for Ov. It was really his fault. Um, Jesus Christ, Havoc. Okay. So Havoc's death there probably shouldn't have happened. I believe that was a panic ult. I couldn't really tell, but um, those kind when you're versing a um, Reinhardt there and you're looking for an Earth Shatter, you have to fully understand the mechanics of Reinhardt's animations so that when he's at the lower stroke of a fire strike, you're hitting Q, because he will not be able to recover before you put down a Earth Shatter. Another case is him swinging. If you get close in on him for him to choose to swing on you, that's a perfect time to bait him into animations that he can't cancel for an Earth Shatter. But just watching out for it, and hoping that when you Earth Shatter he makes an action, that won't work for you. Um, you you have to be able to master Reinhardt's recognizing Reinhardt's animations. Yeah, we'll continue from here. So Mind Bales makes a good call in switching to Lucio for this last point. However, in typical hybrid maps, Lucio's not that viable for heal sustainment. Uh, so we'll see how it plays out. All right, that's a clear-cut disengage from them. So Mind Bales at this time he should have probably reverted back to Zenyatta because it gets that extra damage out. Make sure that was good ult. Yep, that's good ult from a Havoc to preserve his HP. All right, so for that round, uh, one is I want to say is communication. All right, when to break disengages, because if you look at the two teams comparatively, Blue has better calls on their disengages, and when they break engagements, it's a lot cleaner than Incede Blue. Um, that and when Incede Blue is initiating a team fight, the focus on how to approach the team fight is lost from the start. Um, Everybody gets their own characters that they're focusing on, and the damage goes out across the board to all the enemy characters. However, nothing really gets killed, and because Team One, I think I'll call it now, from now on, keeps on doing little focus attacks, because every time you see Winston on their team attack something, D.Va's right next to her. I think that was especially true in the last part. Look at that right there. Av is dealing with a dive. Av is dealing with a dive from D.Va and Winston. And meanwhile, there's very little peel to assist with that. Do not, when you're facing down, dive, right? Be very, very fluid between your attack phases and your defense phases for peeling for your healers and outputting DPS. It has to be in one fluid motion. Yeah, your attacks into their team comp have to be more organized. Try to skip ahead. Alright. Lunar Meme Colony. How convenient. So, Incede is going for a quad tank. And again, character priority is an issue for what they're focusing down. So in this team comp that the Team 1 is pursuing, right, hinges on 3 characters. It hinges on Reaper, Junkrat, and Roadhog. Of which, in running quad tank, the character priorities that should be going out, right? Okay, it's hard to see my cursor here. Is Roadhog should be able to take on Junkrat. Probably with some help from jeez, man. There we go. Probably from some help from Havoc. Right? Reaper is probably best assisted by OK. and Zarya. And Roadhog is one of those things left towards the end of a critical critical targets phase, where then the remaining four tanks can focus all on Roadhog, and the remaining characters on their team are easy picks for the rest of the team fight. But if you don't focus on your high priorities, you're just going to get completely killed every team fight. And I think that's what happens in this. Yeah. Again, high priority characters survived with no focus onto it. We had to switch from Zarya to I only DPS. And Artsy Fartsy switched to McCree. Here's the difficulty with 2CP, right? Is when you run a team comp on a map, you have to know how to implement that composition in this team fight. Because excessive character swapping ruins your ult economy. It's not to say that it's bad, but in this case where they haven't had to try and switch characters to combat your team composition, you had issues with your ult economy and character prioritization. Raggy. Okay. Team 1 is on attack. Incede is on defense. This was what I was talking about with them having more clear and concise disengages.
The reason our team didn't do anything is because they're so uncoordinated. It's insane. And if you go to the okay guy, that person's horrible.
That
That person plays so bad.
that's Firewolf, not me. Oh man.
I watch a Zarya and Diva. His Zarya is actually like bronze tier. The fuck? What you doing, dude? He's 2v1ing a Roadhog and he walks away. Okay? I don't know how this kid's gets barely bronze.
Yeah, losing that Junkrat was kind of a linchpin for them, especially because they're running triple tank.
And the Roadhog's bad too. Got stuck with the pulse bomb and he fucking just when you get stuck with the pulse bomb, you should stop moving.
A drop should have been called there. So Incede tends across the board to have issues with dealing with a fair. Until now. Can't heal Afara if she's headshotted. Afara keeps on going uncontested. And then I know typically Lucy is a really strong pick here, but we probably should have went with a Zenyatta as soon as the Pharah became on the field, because dealing with Pharah is one of those things that become an essential skill that can roll teams. And especially if you have a pharmacy in the air, like in that case. Mercy was just a little bit too slow in order to heal in that point, which is lucky for you guys, but they still end up winning the team fight here, I think. Before you guys start trickling in.
That's planned for tonight.
Yeah. Disengages is going to be a point of practice for Incede Blue, because the level of organization for Team 1 in Colander is giving them a sharp advantage. Havoc's target priority is inconsistent. and he needs to hold onto what, like, Winston's one of those characters, right? That once he has a hold on a character, unless they speed away like a trace or anything like that, he's going to kill it. And have it constantly switching characters isn't putting out the DPS that he needs to, especially when he should be crowd controlling with his primary fire. All right. So WoW is one of those things that you're as a team in a team fight, right? You have to hold in certain areas, and in this case, right, either you put brushes on. All right. So in this case, you're holding lighthouse or whatever the heck this thing is, right here, right? Which means and Orisa has this problem, okay, where she can put a barrier down, but enforcing it, where's my cursor? There's my cursor. All right, she could put a barrier down, but enforcing it is difficult for her. So in order to better capitalize on the shields that Orisa puts down, right, you have to put it in a location, right, that you can control the line. Essentially, Orisa draws a line in the sand, and it's up to the DPS and off tank to enforce the line of the sand that Orisa draws. So in this case, in this case, when Orisa puts the shield down where she has it right now, right? DPS has to control this flank route and this flank route, right? OK is already holding position to do that, and the DPS are also holding the other side, which works functionally well for you guys at the beginning of the team fight. So yeah, so yeah, like coming out through here, right here, is death because it puts you well in range, and it works out for IA only DPS in this one instance. But typically, it's death to come out that door only because it puts you within range of their Roadhog. So usually, if you disengage in a team fight in here, right? If you disengage in a team fight in there, your best option is just to come back around and pump out damage um, uh, uh, through their shield. Because the less time Orisa gets DP her shield out, the better it is for your DPS output in general. So from what I was saying before, right, is your DPS are there to enforce the line that Orisa draws on the sand, right? And now, because the DPS kind of abandoned that job, right? Brushes. It is hard to see my cursor. Alright, now you're dealing with both your DPSs going down because one, I only DPS got hooked by Roadhog and he didn't reset his position. Artsy Fartsy got a little bit too greedy into their backline, probably chasing something down, but realistically, Ilias is one of those maps, especially on Well, that you want to chase something down that's out in the open. Like Genji on this map in particular is pretty much waiting for target calls. So because usually it's the off tank that can look at something and go, hey, especially a Roadhog. Roadhog is looking at all points in the map to find somebody that's out of position. And when he does find something in the position, Genji needs to take advantage of it and not chase down characters. And those early picks is what caused this team fight to get lost. So in this instance, alright, if you're going to go for a left side push, okay, let's go back about 10 seconds. 10 more. Alright. When your team is already on you, when, when their team is already on you, here, right, there's little purpose in having the shield here for a typical team fight that you would have across barriers here, right? Realistically, right, in this case, if they're this is a tactical mistake on Team 1's part. Like Team 1 jumping on top of you right here was a mistake because effectively all you guys would have had to have done in this team fight is set the barrier right here, and the only flank route that they've got is coming across up top here. And the only characters that can do that effectively on their team is Genji, right? And essentially, once Genji gets taken out of the picture in this team fight, right? If you knock him out, right? Essentially, the goal for Havoc is to just start barrier, 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 and it pushes them from being able to hold like their barrier was right here. They start moving back until they get to back to the original position, and by then there should be enough character picks on their team, especially after the Genji pick, that that you would be able to take control of the point again. That was kind of a wasted ult on Ob's part. The team fight was ending, and you could have just healed out all the remaining damage that was on the field. Good job on the stagger. it's kind of questionable to bring out a Widow with a known Genji that's been causing issues on the team. Especially when that Genji hasn't been a high price for the Winston. I kind of want to just go back and yeah, that Genji's getting a lot of utility out of his Dragon Blade, compared to Artsy Fartsy, who really should be getting Beat Blade often, but that combination isn't coming out for Artsy Fartsy. Oh no. Hold on, are we having video issues? Oh no. Let's see if I can fix this real quick. Boo. Yeah. Okay, let me get a reset. Boop, boop. Alright. Incede is on defense here. So first things first for Piku, right, is um, is holding in this room right here isn't your job. You need to be holding here. All right, holding that room is the job of your DPS. And dyslexic, excuse me, caught himself out of position, right, and it cost him his life there as an early pick, which is absolutely horrendously bad for this map. If you're trying to play professionally on this map, one of those it's almost a confirmed general rule, unless you're Torbjorn or Symmetra, that if you're playing on this map, find my cursor, and you're behind that line of attack on this map, you're literally everything beyond in that direction, unless you're chasing down a character. Looking for there we go. If you're in this box, if your positioning is in this box, this is the zone. You're literally throwing in that positioning, you know. And to be in that position at the start of a team fight and not chasing a character down, it's an early pick that shouldn't have happened. It's horrendously bad positioning on that front. Going for a charge on when you have a Discord on you, and when you're already having a difficulty enforcing the space you're creating, is bad. Call your peel. OK should have better vision of that and should be calling for when healers need peel. Healer line. So between the two of you, right? Mind Bales, healing, right? Especially with the current DPS lineup that you have, should be going out. Mind Bales' healing needs to go out to the DPS as a focus in this team comp, and Ob's healing needs to go into the tanks. As far as healers for healing each other, right? You guys need to have a call when you're low. For example, like cross heal is a call that you can do, that you can go, okay, Mind Bales cross heal, and then he'll put an orb on you to so that you can get extra healing above and beyond your healing grenade. Because realistically, you need to save your healing grenades more for your tanks rather than using it for yourself. And sometimes you can get away with it by using it right next to the tank, but that also puts you at risk of being an easy pass through for other tanks to come in and dive upon. Especially when the opposite team, right, is running dive and they're looking for something out of position to dive and pounce upon. Artsy fartsy, your positioning is off here. It's not bad, but it certainly can be better served, and it wouldn't. I'm not saying it could have, but it could have prevented some of the mass push-ups here. You're realistically, you're the best place for you uh, in this area until Piku backed up. So yeah, hold on. Let's go back about 10 seconds here. Your best positioning that you could have held with pretty decent cover from the environment itself is right up here. Would you have gotten dove? Sure, but uh, that that's when you drop to the ground level. You know, because getting knocked out of the position is gonna happen sometimes, and you not being on high ground is a problem. Plus, it would have given you an escape option to just run through here to get out of that Diva mech. So, Piku needs. Alright. So, Piku's over here, right? In order to give um, some support, right, to the DPS output, he needs to put his shield about right here so that them coming in, right, can get at least a little suppression from and gives Artsy Fartsy more safety in getting ult charge. You being over here does nothing for the team comp at that moment. That ultimate probably should have come out way earlier. Did you have it before? You had it at the start of the team fight. As soon as you saw Reinhardt getting bursted down, you probably should have popped that. That's toxic. Let me go back on that. So you guys have lost this on the team on the hero selection screen. So although I only DPS, right, is the main healer, right? You have no long range heals in this team comp. So when Piku is going to jump in, he's jumping into death with no way to recover any HP, a quarter of his natural health, and it's just the team comp is jacked from the beginning. So everything that you would want to get accomplished in dive, you're absolutely not going to get it from the healer line with that team comp. I don't know. Let's see if you change it up. Artsy fartsy, or not artsy fartsy. I only DPS. Dying out of position here when his team is over here and needs heals. Bad. Okay is losing her mech a little bit too frequently. However, I think it's because of the healer lineup that we have. The tank line is going to suffer because of the current healer lineup. Yep. Piku goes down from lack of heals. And both. So for this next team fight, right? I don't think you guys end up using it, but Mind Bell's nope. So that was a bad ult because you should have been asking Mind Bales where his beat drop the beat was.
Thanks, sir.
A lot of the a lot of healing, DPS and tanks are suffering from lack of long range heals. Piku, you were a little bit out of position there. Yeah, OK is suffering because of. There we go. I only DPS switched to Anna, which is a better choice. It's not the. It's not the prime choice.
Bill, are you actually in here? Or are you reading that? Oh, there you are.
Because I didn't have
Holy
things.
shit, that C9 there. So, is this more blue people or what? Confused. I see Mike Mouse. Yeah.
All right, let me go back. All right.
So, is this more blue people or what? Confused. I see Mike Mouse.
All right. So in this instance, all right. All right. Sans is gonna pulse bomb. Mind Bales. When you see that, this switches to speed boost, so everyone can get away. All right. If you get stuck, you stay there. All right. It's the best option for dealing with a pulse bomb. Everyone acts correctly accordingly. However, You are literally standing there in the middle of it. Quit memeing in the middle of a match, you son of a... Check this out. You see that? That's wrong. It's wrong. It's wrong, Mind Veils. Don't do this. Stop doing this. Because guess what it did to you? Okay. That's enough of that. Delete. Continue on.
Yeah. I mean, I only really watched the. I finished for like a minute. But.
Trying not to face right because one shot of McCree's pistol gives him a lot of ult charge.
On the Incede side? Yeah, like, I still got this fight. But yeah, I could tell in that last fight, just before the C9 there, it's like, why would they wait? Get it. Why? Like, not pulling out.
Don't split up the team fight. It's at this late stage in the team fight that you need to start calling character high price to clean everything back up and good job eating that ultimate.
Oh, Mind Veils! What? Oh, man. Oh, Mind Veils! What?
That's just unfortunate for Mind Bells. Good job on switching over to speed boost.
Done tonight. Oh, that sucks. Oh my god. This is just... I mean, I can bounce around. Let me get another angle. No, I'm gonna be flying. I mean, I can bounce around. Follow people like, I could just literally follow Mind Veils.
positioning is questionable here, especially knowing that there's Alright, let's back up a little bit here. Alright, so I know what Piku wants to do because I think he's seen me do it before, but I need to try and guide him in the direction that I approach it. My starting point for Junkertown as Reinhardt, if I'm expecting a Bastion, right, is up here. Because the most distance that I want to let them have the most distance I want to let them have is up to this line on the first run, right, of there's three stopping points, or yeah, three stopping points for the Bastion meta on this map. The first one is right here, because the first thing that you're going to want to do is you'll be set up there. Right? And you come across like so and attack. Right? Coming out here and doing it like he did, there's way too much open space for them to get out. Here, you only have this space to deal with you, right? Because by the time you're coming out right here, right, you're already in mid-charge to come down and peg them. So this is the first stopping point. Once Bastion gets down, the team fight should commence on this corner defense, because once you take care of... keep on losing my cursor. Where is he? Okay. Right there. Alright. The team fight itself should happen about right here, so that you can hold corner defense here until Bastion comes back around. As soon as Bastion comes back out for a reset on the payload, realistically, what you should do is, as soon as you see him, oh my god, keep on losing. As soon as you see him here, your shield needs to come up so you can come back out, right, with your teammates dropping back again. And every time you come back out and rush in, right, that is the initiation, right, for your team to come right back in. Bastion is one of those characters that he comes on the field, you respect him, get out of his way, take him out, and then collapse on the DPS pitfall. That's literally a part of their team comp once he dies.
Why did they already jump out and show where they're at? Why would you not let them walk out a little bit?
Disregard them. Good job on taking out Bastion. He's still not down. That's going to probably get you killed. Okay, probably should have followed Piku in order to ensure that Bastion went down.
Yeah, just following minefields around, you see exactly what Piku was talking about. Where
Piku, you're a little bit too. Piku, you're a little bit too far ahead. You need to hold corner defense if you lose Bastion, because you need your best defense against Bastion on this map is baiting him onto the where's my brushes. Your best defense on Junkertown is baiting his baiting him to get onto the point. So holding corner defense here, so that at some point you can get him onto cart. Is probably your best defense here, because the idea is when payload, where's my cursor? God damn it, gets to about here, right? You have that much distance so that you can just come up and charge right back off the payload. However, every single attack on Bastion, right, is a either has to get supported. So realistically, right, when you're holding corner defense here, ooh, nope. So when you're holding corner defense here, right, and you go in to move, no, all right, OK should fall right in on you with the defense matrix out. So that way, when you drop shield, you're not collecting all that damage from Bastion. So it's going to be a tank push every single time for a Bastion focus.
And he ran forward and booped the shield past the right. Like why?
Because you're essentially you're just trying every single time to bait out Bastion getting onto the point. Because as it stands right now, just constantly going for Bastion in every single encounter, right? Like let's analyzing your team comp, right? You have two tanks that can support your charge into Bastion. So why are you going to consistently press? Whoops. Why consistently press? Jesus Christ! I need to get it so I can see this cursor a little. Like, why constantly press when you can let them get set up here, and then every single time.
Like why is he up there?
Yep. Mind Bale's out of position, especially when the core of your team. Oh, Jesus Christ! I'm stopping and going way more than I should. Right here. This is where Lucio should be right now. And this is where Lucio is. Way too aggressive. And it costs some of the healing for our tanks.
Oh man.
Overextension from Piku and Artsy Fartsy. But Artsy Fartsy's overextension paid off. I only DPS overextended with no support, and was the only healer remaining. He should have been playing more conservatively. Oh, that was an accident. Okay is out of position. Briefly. And realistically, this team fight here is going to shit only because Piku's out of position play. It kind of breaks apart their ability to hold a corner defense here. Like, okay, should be over here. Um, but it probably in the long run wouldn't help only because Piku went down unnecessarily early.
More deaths. What do you want to bet? More deaths.
All right, so we're going to be getting to the second point.
What do you want to bet he runs in and ults? I mean, it keeps him in. Yeah.
Let's go back 10 seconds. 10 more. All right, so Piku, when you're making pushes like that, you survive that on a little bit of luck, right? Because how you were entering yourself into that team fight. All right, was low ground this way, which all it would have taken is somebody to call you out, right? And Bastion set up here would have had all that distance up to here to pump damage into you, with you having absolutely no escape option in that route. So you entering that team fight was a pretty bad move. It worked out for you in the end, but better options for you, so you have less. The thing I'm trying to get across to you, right, is how much damage output can get put onto you versus how much distance you have to cross. So if you have all that distance with no escape option and Bash is pumping damage into you, you're just gonna get melted in that direction. Whereas a difference play is to come up through here. This small little bit of ledge allows you to just peek around and then put it with just that small amount of poke, especially since you have the cover right here. So yeah, that it worked out for you, and that I'm happy for you. But bad insertion play there.
More deaths. What do you want to bet he runs in and ults?
Actually, pretty decent ult there from Mind Bales. It actually probably saved this team fight.
It keeps him in. Yeah. Now they're all dead. Why did he run back in? Yeah.
So a lot of that team fight was lost because you weren't holding a close corner defense. Yes, Bastion was on high ground. However, let's go back. You're holding position here. Oh, God, Jesus Christ. No, here. When you should be holding position here, right? So that the rest of your team can hold position here, and Bastion holding position here does not have the attack angle to get onto your team. And even with Arisa having Bongo to put down in that moment, she's only going to be able to do it here in this area, which means for the team fight that when they get around this corner, here, right, that Bongo is only going to be able to affect areas in this direction. It cuts off the area of effect for that Bongo, whereas you holding back so far, back here, right, allowed her to put it here, put the Bongo here, and then it could affect all this area. All right, and it cost the team fight here. Let me go back 10 seconds. Make sure there was nothing else to analyze there. Delete. Yeah, you abandoning corner defense brought your characters way too far back to be able to counter their second push. And Artsy Fartsy is taking the punishment for it.
Now they're all dead. Why did he run back in? Yeah. That's why green's losing. I'm calling it. It's because mine fails.
I recognize that was a panic ult. And what should have happened there is some point 10, 15 seconds ago. It should have been discussed between OK and Dyslexic. Because if you look at the situation as it stands right now, it Dyslexic just used his ult here. And OK finally got her ult here. So realistically, if they would have held position here for about additional 5 seconds, right, with the cover provided by the payload, right, and launched an ult, launch grav onto the characters here, you would have had Diva Bomb ready to go. Let me make sure I saw that correctly. No, you already had Diva Bomb. So you had Bastion and Roadhog in that Graviton, and self destruct didn't get used. That's not neat. That probably should have definitely happened as an ultimate combo.
Yeah, I see what you mean. It just doesn't sound like there's any coordination at all. Like that grab there followed like 5 seconds later by a tire.
All right. This is also this is one of those points. Let me go. So I only DPS has ultimate. All right. So I only DPS has ultimate here. All right, and you're getting to another point, and you're in the right position, right, to take out Bastion again here, because that this point is the perfect place. Either that, or if you got place your self. Oh boy, right here is another position too, because you also have this cover in addition with this cover. Right, this one's probably a little bit better only because the cart would only get here, as opposed to when you have to wait for the cart to get here. But you get here, and Moira stays over in this area, general, and you drop down. She pops ult, and then you go and take out Bastion again, and that uh, essentially Moira is just going to be following you in order to keep you up, because uh, I've seen this in this match too, that Moira's ult gets used for damage more than healing, especially when the healing rate is higher than the DPS output. Alright, I actually have to hurry up this section a little bit, so I'll actually try and not stop. Okay, kind of saved this fight with that Diva Bomb.
Oh yeah, unless OK can deal with. But They've got a farmer C though. Yeah, it's over. Yeah. They have no answer now. So they get good hooks.
You no longer have to deal with that Bastion, but now it pretty much means that Artifarty needs to get that ultimate out and then switch to
Get out of that trap. He just ran straight through a trap.
Moira ult being used more for DPS than healing. Cost Artifarty his life. Artifarty needs to change. Yep, cool.
Oh, I wasn't even paying attention. I've literally just been following Mind Veils. Like I said, I'm just following his play, but it's. Oh yeah. Some nice stalls. Alright, no more following Mind Veils. Well, at least to make the swap to Zenyatta. Smart move.
Pico overextension. I know DPS is using it more for D.
Damage.
Yeah.
I mean, to be fair, his name is I only DPS, so healing character for the main. There you go. That's a big shatter.
Mm.
No follow though. Yeah.
So I can recognize how excited you are for a big shatter like that. However, you've got the kind of team comp that they were running. The kind of team comp they were running gives you thousands of opportunity for huge shatters like that. So reserving your shatter for the right time with the right follow up is kind of key in this current situation.
Hello. needs to be turning around, popping shields on people at that point. He's the one that can be getting so much.
Yeah, so, if you have a character that goes out of position as bad as the Roadhog twice, chances are that's going to be a character that's going to be your first pick, right? And the ability to recognize that is going to be key in the future team fights.
Charge off of that. You're talking about an instant 40 charge. Every time he gets a hook. Nobody can shut that down. Then there's the problem. You grab and you have absolutely nothing you can do with it. At least I swapped over to a jungle. Oh wait, no. Never mind, I didn't swap. I'm looking at the wrong team. Swapped over to a jungle. Oh wait, no. Never mind, I didn't swap. I'm looking at the wrong team. Absolutely shut that down.
So here's a problem in this team comp, right? Already is the only thing that Zarya has to combo her ult with is OK's ultimate, and OK is still 20% off her ultimate. So that was a wasted ultimate there.
Then there's the problem. You grab and you have absolutely nothing you can do with it. At least I swapped over to a jungle. Oh wait, no. Never mind, I didn't swap. I'm looking at the wrong team. That's not really gonna work very well either, but
Ready?
why are they pushing here? Oh, there's one. Down, yeah. That was a poor decision on their part.
They didn't. Enemy team didn't did a clean
Fair.
disengage.
Heard him. Unless our team just gave up. nobody followed him in.
You guys are winning this only on team comp right now.
McCree run. Oh, is that it? What the hell, the stagger?
How'd this team fight out? The early pick on Piku, was that from positioning?
Demolishing them. They have no answer aside from the diva, but
There was absolutely
demolishing them. They have no answer.
there was actually really no reason to follow in a dive there from OK. Um, OK has to have the skills in order to, recognize when her damage threshold is too high and she needs to get out so that you can heal her, because that just cost you the team fight at the start of this match.
Aside from the diva, but
So as soon as,
and nobody followed him in.
of which OK did well to get out, but then it caught you rushing in to try and heal a stagger already sets this team fight up on the wrong foot. The Zarya pick in our current team comp is still questionable. It became less questionable when we had a Reaper, but now with the switch by Artsy Fartsy from Reaper to McCree, there is no synergy that Zarya has with any of the characters on the team currently. That's going to be a Graviton that doesn't have any synergy with any of the other teams, so it's a wasted ult. And there's probably not going to be a moment in this match where the Graviton is going to be utilized to its full potential.
Way up above and seeing the whole battlefield. Really fun.
Piku's at the head of the attack. At that, he's lucky he didn't get caught out of position. I only DPS switches to Genji. Uncoordinated attack. If you notice, Blackwing is attacking Diva, Baby Diva. Island DPS is that? No. He's attacking Goo. Island DPS is attacking Diva. And where is our Diva? Our Diva is in Baby Diva form right now. But she's now back in her mech. your lack of organizing character priorities is what caused that team fight at the end.
Hey, Pew, you're welcome to my home.
And then I joined the fight. I'll do a VOD review of my gameplay later, but this gets up to at least Junkertown for you guys. Um, yeah, I'll probably get up my VOD review of my own gameplay tomorrow. So I'll see y'all.